Things keep getting crazier in Knicks Nation. 127-97, the Knicks defeat the Portland Trail Blazers last night in Madison Square Garden. That's their fifth in a row. They closed the month of January 7-8. Of course, the Knicks started this 5-game winning streak on the heels of losing 9 out of 11. A players-only meeting was called. The Knicks blew out the Brooklyn Nets. They then took revenge on the Philadelphia 76ers. They got by playing some sloppy basketball against the Kings and beat them. They had a sloppy first half the night after against Toronto and stormed out on a 27-4 run on the road to blow out the Toronto Raptors. And then last night, they had a wire-to-wire blowout over the Blazers. I'm going to talk about what led to that victory, who are the standout performers. I'm going to hear from you guys in the comments. And we're going to talk about some trade rumors, not just with the Knicks, but around the league, as we are now 6 days on the countdown to the NBA trade deadline. Are you guys ready to go forward with this team? Did this 5-game winning streak inspire you? Or are you still not sure about this core 7 and you want to make a major shakeup? I'm also going to talk about the realistic opportunities out there for the Knicks. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Poppa Left. I'm the host of Your Knicks. Make sure you like this video. Leave a comment in the comments section and subscribe to the channel so we can get this content out to Knicks fans like you. Man, what a shakeup this January has been. Going into the month, the Knicks had a New Year's Eve game against San Antonio. Josh Hart was out. Mitchell Robinson was out. The Knicks were up 71-54 with a couple minutes to go in the first half. It looked like we were on cloud 9. The Knicks were up by 10 late in the third when Wembanyama gets hurt. Knicks look like they're going to get another victory. And here comes Julian Champagnie and the Spurs, and they come back and win the game. Okay, is what it is. Knicks then return, and they lose 9 out of 11 and send this season on a downward spiral that none of us saw coming. And it put a lot of question marks, not just on the locker room, but on the fan base, on the front office, on people covering the team in the mainstream media, or on the local podcast, whether it be myself or it be Knicks Fan TV or Knicks Film School or the Strickland or the Spaces or YouTube or Reddit, or everybody was panicking. And now the Knicks, it seems like they've kind of cured all ills with this 5-game winning streak, and they've inspired some confidence in themselves. They've inspired some confidence within the fan base, but still there is a cloud over this team with the trade deadline. You saw the locker room talk about, being professionals with their names swirling around there in trade rumors. You've seen guys like Draymond Green address, his situation with his name being floated around there in a potential Giannis deal. These guys are going to work and they're playing for their jobs, and they don't know from one day to the next if they're going to be in one city or they're going to be moved across the country to another city. It's definitely a situation that has to be handled with emotional poise, professionalism, and you just don't know. I mean, as a common person working a job, you know what I mean? We kind of can relate to it. Opportunities might arise. Situations might not be good fits with our day-to-day jobs, but nothing like this. And I'm not doing this to kind of feel bad or cry tears for guys who get paid multi-millions of dollars to play a child's game, but I am trying to empathize with it. I'm trying to put it in perspective, because the Knicks could have went one or two ways after dropping 9 out of 11. They really could have taken that as a sign to mail it in and wait until the All-Star break. There's a lot of people talking about with the NBA Cup and the hangover from the NBA Cup. You put your all into it, you get an accomplishment, and then you go back to these regular season games that kind of have a malaise, a kind of feeling out process before you play physical basketball. The old adage of the game doesn't start until there's 2 minutes to go, right? But even with that, I said, when's the expiration date on that? You know, do we really have to wait until the deadline? Do we really have to wait until the All-Star break? And I think something must have clicked in that Knicks locker room where it wasn't just the standings fall off. It was the job fall off. It was the fact that if there's a bigger trade to be made, if a Karl Anthony Towns has to go out, you cannot just go 1-for-1. Karl Anthony Towns now takes a McHale with him. Karl Anthony Towns now takes a Miles McBride with him, right? Who has to pay the price? Because this Knicks team doesn't have draft picks that can go out and be attached to players to make an improvement. It will be players. I've been saying this for a long time in terms of how the money matches up, in terms of how the value matches up. The Knicks are going to have to look at some players and make difficult decisions, even if it's a guy like improving on Yabusele. Leon Rose either has to attach a bunch of second-round picks or he has to attach a young player. So everybody in that locker room is looking on their phone, looking around their shoulder, hearing friends of friends. If I'm getting news, imagine what news they're getting from their agents and what news they're tapped into. They probably know their potential destinations to a T. So this team got out of that 9 of 11. And I've laid out the 5 wins, including last night. And let's talk about last night at some detail. The Blazers, we've seen last week, 2 weeks ago on a Sunday, and that was one of our only wins out there on the West Coast. I think it was the only win we had on the West Coast. And they're a tough team. They're right now, I think they're sitting in the play-in in the Western Conference, which is, you know, pretty decent for them. They don't really have a young superstar on their team, young star on their team. I guess you can call Denny Avdia a young star, but really he's just performing in high volume, if we're going to be honest. He was a little banged up. It was his first game back. They got 2 contracts on their team that are absolutely dreadful in terms of what that team is trying to accomplish. And Drew Holiday and Jeremy Grant, both, you know, above 30. I don't know if Jeremy Grant's above 30. He might be, but he's definitely playing like a guy that's been paid for his accomplishments prior to what he's doing right now. And they got some, you know, decent guys like Shaedon Sharpe had a good game last night. Tamani Kamara was dreadful. He was 0 for 4. He didn't have any points. He played 26 minutes. He was terrible. And, you know, guys like Robert Williams, Donovan Clingan, a young player from UConn. Of course, Scoot Henderson, 3rd pick overall a couple years ago, hasn't been able to play. He's dealing with an injury. And they don't have a point guard. So they have a bunch of wings that kind of need to be unlocked. And, you know, they have a coaching situation with Chauncey Billups. He was, you know, the federal investigation. He was told to step down. Tiago Splitter, former San Antonio Spur. He's from the, you know, like Mike Brown, I guess, from the influence of Greg Popovich. He's now coaching the Blazers, and they kind of went on a run, and they've dialed it back in terms of their winning recently. Remember, they went on a stretch where they were beating the Thunder. They were, you know, I think they beat the Celtics, or they beat the Rockets a couple times. And they've kind of dialed it back with Avdia being hurt. And we got him at the right time, I guess you could say. And we pretty much put it to him early on. We got up to a 24-point lead in the second quarter. Mike Brown, again, you know, employing that starting lineup that a lot of people do not like, which is Brunson, Hart, McHale, OG, and Cat. But again, staggering Cat away from Brunson early on to get Brunson with some defense. And it turned out to be Shamet and Mohamed Diawara off the bench. Of course, no Deuce McBride last night. He's being managed with I believe, an ankle injury. Some people have put out some theories that maybe, you know, Deuce is being held out because of a trade. I do not believe that for 1 second. I'm not saying that Deuce is not, you know, he's a guy that's off the table, but I do genuinely believe that the Knicks are managing his injury status. So he wasn't available, which gave more minutes to Shamet and Mohamed Diawara and Tyler Kolek. And they built out a 24-point lead. And I was not impressed with the way that the Trailblazers attacked this game. Number one, they turned over the ball so much. They made us look like the old San Antonio Spurs, in the 2010s or even in the 2000s, the way they would zip the ball around. Like they would just cough up the ball like religiously last night, and it led to some easy buckets. The one thing that they try to do is they guard Josh Hart with Donovan Clingan and basically dare Josh Hart to shoot. Josh Hart could have shot 50 threes last night, made 20, and got 60 points. And basically, the Knicks tripped themselves up out of some good looks in the offensive side of the basketball. Portland went to playing heavy zone, down 24. They got themselves back in the game because we just, we gave away a lot of easy offensive looks by driving, over committing to certain reads in the offense where we should have just pulled up, rised and fired, taken some 3-pointers, and Portland kind of took advantage of that sections of the game, and they cut it to 10 at half. But the way you beat the Knicks is you deny them on the wing, you put pressure on Brunson full court, and you make them cut, and you make them put the ball on the floor. And Portland seemed to put pressure on Brunson a little bit, but even they let him get to his left hand. There was one play where he was in a pick and roll situation with Mitchell Robinson. They let Brunson get to his left, which is criminal. You should never let him do that. And he just plods his way through the lane and gets a finish on a layup. And Brunson was getting hot. He had a 3-point shot where he got a flagrant called on the defender. He went to the line, got a 4-point play, and it just the score got above 10, and the Knicks were able to get it above 20 at one point. But again, the Knicks kind of just, an embarrassment of riches, I guess you can say. That's what can happen against a bad team. You take the foot off the gas, and then all of a sudden now you have to play another 24 minutes of fire and desire basketball. I will give the Knicks credit out of the second half into the third quarter. Historically, the Knicks have been a team that has had slow starts in the third quarter, and that starting unit usually struggles just religiously no matter when you play them. They did play well. They played well enough to build the lead up back towards 15, and then they took care of business going into the end of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter. Kolek, who was hitting threes, guys were just dominating the boards. Karl Anthony Towns had 20 rebounds. Mitchell Robinson at one stretch in this game, I was just like, I was ready to tweet it. But, if we don't win the title this year, Mitch has held down so many iterations of this team, whether it be the Randall era, whether it be the pre-Tibbs era, whether it be the Fournier and Kemba era, whether it be the Brunson and Randall era, Brunson and Cat, the Villanova era. But here's been Mitchell Robinson this whole time holding it down. I said, if we don't win the title this year, just give Mitchell Robinson the Supermax. Just pay him for holding down this team and getting so many offensive rebounds. I mean, he was tremendous last night as well. Just, some eye-popping plays. Hold on one second. Got to answer this phone call 1 second. Hello? Yeah, I'm shooting the podcast right now. Yeah. So the Knicks were able to extend the lead. And in the fourth quarter, they basically ran away with it, and they put a lineup at one point of Kolek and Diawara and Dylan Jones, who was acquired by the Knicks on a 2-way. He was originally drafted by, by the Wizards or the Thunder, and traded to the Wizards, and then he was up in the floor last night. Hold on 1 second. The car is on the third floor. Just got to take care of some business. If you want to shout me out, man, on Cash App, you can check me out on Cash App, on Poppa Left on Cash App, or Venmo if you want to support the podcast. We're going to have some merch up towards the end of the season. We've just hit over 1,000 subscribers, so shout out to you. We've also are approaching 4,000 watch hours, which gives the ability for super chats and things like that. So live streams and things like that, we'll be able to guys will be able to give out super chats and things like that. We will live stream the game tomorrow night against the Lakers. So that's that as well. The Lakers game is a nationally televised game, first NBC game at night, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, Super Bowl is next week, so there's the Pro Bowl tomorrow. So the Knicks will kind of like dominate the national television scale in the sports world. It's kind of like a dead area right now in the sports world. You have golf comes back, baseball comes back, but after football ends, it's just like basketball, college basketball, March Madness, things like that kind of emerge, but everything is kind of chill. So this trade deadline is a huge part in the news cycle for sports. And Giannis emerging is huge. But man, thank you guys for subscribing to the channel and supporting the way that you guys have. I got a notification from my guy Matt, and he put me up with the likes of Knicks Fan TV and Knicks Film School. I really appreciate that. Obviously, I started to do Knicks content. I've done Knicks content, with the Jeremy Lin video. If you guys want to check that out on YouTube, you just search official Linsanity music video. It's back when I was, just came back from Jerusalem. I was in a religious kind of like awakening, and sorry about that. And I I had the locks and everything like that. So you definitely get a kick out of that. But I was doing Knicks content 15 years ago with that. But during COVID, I started calling up Knicks Fan TV. And I always got to credit CP the franchise for giving that platform, because I grew up on WFAN and, listening for hours. I didn't even have cable, didn't have MSG growing up. So listening to Gus Johnson, John Andres, listening to, I think even on WFAN, the night calls, like Steve Summers, or in the mornings, Joe Bedingo, and obviously Mike and the Mad Dog, and even ESPN radio, but more of a WFAN baby. So like having KFTV during COVID, I didn't even know Knicks Twitter existed, to be honest. So I joined Knicks Twitter, and I, got into that a little bit. And I really appreciate the fact that now that we have this, platform now with your Knicks, I appreciate that you guys have joined me, man. But yeah, man, a standout performer for you guys. Who do you guys think last night stood out to you? I know a lot of people are, still kind of like worried about Karl Anthony Towns, the fact that his scoring is so down. I thought he had one of his better games of the season last night, even though he only scored 14 points. I think that his activity on defense, I thought Mikal Bridges, his activity early on defense was great. And he kind of like took the soul out of Portland's process early. Sometimes, you establish your physicality early. Even Mikal, he almost looked like, hey, man, is the Iron Man streak over? Because he went over a screen with gusto last night and got over a screen. So I thought Mikal was great. OG was really good last night. He had 24 points, I believe. Yeah, it says there on the bottom ticker. OG was really good last night. He was aggressive. He had some tough shots. There was one play where Brunson was getting denied up on half court, 40 feet away from the basket. And sometimes I get frustrated with Brunson because he dribbles out the clock so much. I'm like, just get rid of the ball and go down, get to the spot you want to go to. And at least the defense is up on you, face guarding you. So then it opens up a dribble drive lane. So just get rid of the pill. And he got rid of it to OG. OG got down to a spot versus Avdia and hit a little running floater. So I thought that was really impressive to me. Just the process in general, Jalen Brunson has been doing a really good job for the majority of the season. You can credit or blame, the All-Stars, season and all that stuff. Maybe guys are kind of looking at their averages, but even with the Karl Anthony Towns thing with the 14 and 20, to me, it's like, if this team stays together, and I've been on record with saying that I am not confident in this collective unit to go win 4 series in a row. And I'd like nothing more to be proven wrong. Trust me. But I have to call it like I see it. There's just so much inconsistency from night to night in terms of brand of basketball, philosophy of basketball. And things can change from now until the end of June, right? Things can change. But I do not know if this team is fully committed to playing that way. If they play like everybody gets a piece of the pie, and from night to night, you might get 14, OG might get 24, Mikhail might get 9, Douche might get 15, Shamit might explode for 12, 15, whatever. Mitchell Robinson might be, getting dumped off. If they play like that, yes, they can go win 4 series in a row. If they start feeding into the profile of who they are and, how many shots they should get, and they feel like they should be getting the ball more, or, things like that. I don't think like this team has a talent on the team even with Jalen Brunson. I don't believe this team has a talent where they could say, go take me home for 4 series in a row. Within the context of a given game and a series, sure. We've seen it before, with Cat against the Pacers in game 3. We've seen Jalen Brunson at the end of game 6 have a phenomenal performance there against the Pistons, but not over a course of a whole series, and definitely not over the course of 4 series in a row. So they really have to commit to team basketball. But I will say this, Karl-Anthony Towns is committing to his new role, at least in this given stretch of, playing defense, defending the rim, not getting in foul trouble, splitting the time with Mitchell Robinson, kind of unifying and giving a universal role to our center position, which is spacing the floor, getting the ball out above the 3-point line as a center, and, distributing and dribble handoffs, and, setting picks, and, playing your role that way. I'm sure Karl-Anthony Towns believes he should get the ball more. I'm sure fans of Cat believe that he should be getting the ball more from his point guard. And I agree to an extent, but at a certain point, the efficiency is not there, and other guys have to pick up the scoring. And from night to night, Jalen's going to get his 25 points or so. Other guys have to step up in Karl-Anthony Towns' absence in terms of his estimated point total, which we've assumed to be 24, 22 over his career. Right now it's at 20, and it's starting to get into the teens. So, but all in all, I thought he had a really good game last night. Donovan Clingan is no joke. I mean, he dominated the college basketball scene to the effect of UConn going through the tournament and winning every single game for 2 years in a row. That's unheard of. And he was pretty much the key cog of that situation over there. Robert Williams is a guy who's been, I believe he won the NBA Finals with the Boston Celtics. Or did he lose it? I think maybe he lost. Yeah, he lost with the Celtics. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he went out with the deal. I'm not exactly sure, but Robert Williams is a guy that he was tremendous for the Celtics, and he's just getting healthy. Mitchell Robinson, even the guys like Sissoko and guys like that. There's a lot of big men. For Karl-Anthony Towns to come out of last night's game with 20 rebounds, it's no slouch. It's not like the other night when he's doing it against Colin Murray Boyles and a bunch of wings against Toronto or Mamu. You know what I mean? That cat really should dominate. But it speaks to the fact that these guys, it's Sunday, January 31st. They got 6 days left. If they don't show that they can be flexible and be coachable and adjust to their roles, Mike Brown and Leon Rose are going to have conversations about who can replace them in that role. And I've been on record for saying, like, if that's the role you want for Cat, then go look around the league and see if you could split up that $50 million other ways, because maybe there's another way that we can get shooting, which is what Cat brings to us, some shot creation and some rim protection. Because if that's what you want out of Cat at $50 million, I think you can find different ways to do that. But we will see. We will see. My gut tells me, not rumors, but I know that I've put out there that Giannis and the Knicks have been talking, and I've been correct on that. I called that weeks before Christmas, right as Giannis visited us in the Garden, right before the NBA Cup and all that, when the Knicks were fighting for their eligibility for the NBA Cup. I got information that the Knicks are back talking with Giannis. That has pretty much happened. I don't know guaranteed if they're going to get him or not. I will say this. If I had to make a prediction, I definitely think that the Knicks are going to get him. I do think that the Knicks are going to get him. I know that it sounds like a 10% chance right now, and people are going to spin the block on me if they don't get him or somebody else gets him. just based off me reading the situation and the amount of investment and these talks have happened, I just don't believe that Giannis is, going to come back from his calf strain and, be told to sit out in Milwaukee and I just don't believe that. I believe that he's motivated to go. I think Milwaukee's motivated to move him. I think Milwaukee wants to go in a different direction. And I think the Knicks have the most momentum and relationship to go get him. I think both sides want to be there. A lot of people will tell you that it doesn't matter what Giannis wants. A lot of people will tell you that Giannis is worth X, Y, and Z. The Knicks don't have X, let alone Y and Z, or a collection of X, Y, and Z. I just think that there's momentum, and I think when there's smoke, there's fire, and the Knicks are due. And I know that sounds like a fan take, and people are going to all caps me to death maybe in the comments, but something tells me that this time around they're going to get it done. I think, as you can see with the Blazers last night, that's a team that should be motivated to facilitate that deal, because you're going to sit on Jeremy Grant and Drew Holiday in the year 27, 28, paying them $65, $68, $70 million. That's stupid. You should not do that. So I think that's a team that is motivated to give up a pick or two of the Milwaukee picks. Maybe the Knicks find a situation where Karl-Anthony Towns can go to a different team or something like that. But I do think the framework of the deal is Cat and McHale. I do not believe in the Cat and OG thing. I think if push came to shove, I would do it still for Giannis. I'm very clear on how I feel about this window. I think the window is a fake 2-year window. I think it's a 1-year window. I think this year really is championship or bust. I think the whole league improves next year. I think the Knicks will be there, but I do not believe that the Knicks will be there like they are right now next year. I think this is the year. And if the Knicks should try their best to do everything that they can to appropriately put their value in. And I don't think any team is going to be able to get Giannis at fair value. Giannis should go for 5 first-round picks, 6 first-round picks, 2, blue chip prospects and seconds and swaps. He's just not going to get that, because under this new CBA, you turn into the Bucks if you pay for that for Giannis. Nobody's going to want to do that. So it has to be a place where he wants to go and contend. I think that he wants to go back into the playoffs. I think it's between us, the Heat, and the Warriors. If a team like San Antonio wanted to show up and do it, I think that they could convince him to go there. If a team like Detroit wanted to show up and do it, I just don't know if those two teams want to go ahead and do that. I think San Antonio is like a dark horse, though, with their young kids that they got with Harper and Castle, and then they got the contracts to match with Barnes and Olynyk or Vassell or whomever they want to send out. I think they can get it done. With the Warriors, it's either Draymond or Jimmy, Kuminga and picks, or Pods maybe, but it's definitely Kuminga and a big contract. And then with the Heat, it's it's matching salary, Wiggins, Hero, and Kelly Ware and Jovic and Jaquez. But even that, those guys are not. I know people want to call Kelly Ware blue chip. He's good, but he no guarantee that he's going to be an all-star in this league. When they say blue chip, they mean like who's the young player in this league that I know he's going to be like, not Cooper Flag, but I gotta think about it, like Con Kneppel. Con Kneppel. That's like or VJ Edgecombe right there. Not Cooper Flag, Kneppel. That's what they're looking for when they say blue chip. So I don't think any team is willing to give that up for Giannis right now, because it just doesn't match their timeline. You know what I mean? Anyways, that is the situation with that. We got 6 days left. I got a whole bunch of time over the next week that I'm going to devote to trade deadline talk. Is there anybody that you guys want me to bring on to talk about it? I'll see if I can connect with them and start getting the interviews going with this channel. Definitely got the ability to talk to some people, maybe Begley, maybe Scotto. I'll see if I can get Yossi Gozlin on the show. Maybe, you never know. They gotta agree to it. We'll see. We'll see how much staying power Poppa Left really has if I can get one of those premier guests to come on to the show. But we'll definitely try to reach out if you guys want. We'll definitely try to reach out and see if we can get them. I'm sure they're really busy at this time of year. Michael Scotto actually put out a story on Hoops Hype about a trade with DeAndre Hunter going to the Sacramento Kings and the Cavs getting Keon Ellis, Dennis Schroeder, and another piece, I think Dario Saric, which is interesting because they originally were looking for Alonzo Ball to play their backup point guard. But if you get Garland and Donovan Mitchell, you sub one out. Now you can pair them in the backcourt with Dennis Schroeder. I think that would be an interesting move for them. It takes some defense out of their lineup, but DeAndre Hunter for 3 first-round picks. I know a lot of people have complained about Mikal for 5. DeAndre for 3 has been pretty much a bust for Cleveland. Remember, Cleveland made that deal out of a position of strength last year, and it didn't really add much to them. They were kind of just going along, and then they went with a series with Orlando, I believe, and then I think it was Orlando, and then they just got the doors blown off of them by Indiana in that series. So we'll see what happens with that. The Memphis Grizzlies are a team that's going to be motivated to pick a direction. I know John Morant is on the table, Jaren Jackson. You got teams like New Orleans with Trey Murphy, Zion Williamson. What kind of return could they get for them if they want to pivot and go full in on Fears and Derek Queen? The issue with them is that they don't have a first round pick next year. Their pick goes to Atlanta. So they're a team with a whole bunch of talent. Herb Jones, Alvarado, Misi. They got a whole bunch of pieces there. Chicago has 5 expiring contracts, highlighted by Vucevic out there and Kobe White. The Timberwolves need a point guard. The Raptors are looking potentially to dump Emmanuel quickly. He's getting paid 5 years, $175 million. There's other teams like, like the Hornets with Colin Sexton, $19 million, the Kings with Malik Monk, and they got Sabonis and Levine and DeRozan. It's a bunch of teams that, Utah, with marketing, they could always dangle him out there. The Nets with Michael Porter Jr., even guys like Cam Thomas, Day'Ron Sharpe, Zaire Williamson, Nicholas Claxton. You don't know. Like, a lot of these teams have to make moves, and all of it is being held up by Giannis because everybody wants to get involved. Even if you're not getting Giannis, you want to help facilitate a deal and maybe move some money around and get off a bad contract, and maybe you're willing to take on one of the players in the deal, and maybe get some draft capital out of it or make an upgrade out of it. You might want to be peered into that situation. So I do expect this channel to be live at some point over the next 6 days. So definitely hit the notification bell, hit the alarm bell on YouTube right now. If you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe already. We're over 1,100 subscribers. We're up to 4,000, I think, watch hours soon. Again, we do the live stream, so definitely check us out there. And we will keep you posted for the trade updates. Knicks will play the Lakers tomorrow night. Again, I've mentioned that. And then they play Tuesday night, I believe, on the road in D.C. against the Wizards. And then they come back on Thursday, the last game before the trade deadline, and they'll play Jokic, who probably will return appropriately so. Austin Reeves also will make his return probably against us on Sunday night. So, and also LeBron, his last trip to Madison Square Garden. There's that. One thing I didn't mention was I really loved Mohamed Diawara's activity the other night. If he's a guy that has to go in a Giannis deal, I love Diawara as much as anybody. My first video on this channel was a Diawara piece. But I would get rid of him in a heartbeat for Giannis. But he is the one guy out of Kolek, Dadier, McCullough, Hukporti. Like, he is the Dylan Jones, Dink Pate. Like, he is the one guy that I really think could blossom into something special. A lot of people, want to go Siakam with him. A lot of people want to go Giannis with him. I don't know if it's that level. And, of course, he doesn't have the premier, projection being the 51st pick overall. But man, like that guy flashes out on the screen. Confident player, runs the floor very well, good defender, good length, good size, can shoot the ball well, can put the ball on the floor a little bit in the half court. A little trouble, a little funky in the full court, still trying to find his rhythm, but he's improved. Like every time he's hit the floor, he's improved. He's a confident young man, 20 years old, can only get better. The Knicks got it. If they're not trading him, he's only on a 1 year, $1 million deal. They got to make sure that they lock him up for the next 2 to 3 years, because he will be a big factor on this team going forward for sure. Especially as OG and McHale kind of get up there, in minutes and years. You want to keep them fresh. I think, this team has gotten struck in gold with some of the veteran minimum situations with Landry Shamet, even Jordan Clarkson carrying them. You don't know how long you can do that. So I think Diawara will play a big role for this team. Clarkson, again, continues to be benched. Mike Brown has pivoted away from Kolek and Clarkson, especially with Deuce back, to try to prioritize two-way players and really put a pressure on defense. Knicks continuing their defensive stride, 4 straight games, keeping their opponent under 100 points, which in 2026 is phenomenal. I think the league low in points allowed, or league high, I guess you could say, is OKC at 107.8. So the Knicks are, full 3 possessions given up below that, underneath 100. And I think, if it wasn't such a blowout, I think the Knicks would have kept the game even lower. Last night, giving up 97 points. A lot of those points in freedom of garbage time were acquired by the Portland Trailblazers. So, yeah, man, I think that's pretty much anything that I missed. This is all off the top of the dome. No notes. No, I think I'm good, man. 37 minutes. Good episode, man. Make sure you tap in to the rest of the episodes. Take a look back at some of the conversations we've had on this channel, and definitely stay tuned. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. The subscribe amount is great. I'm like, like when a young player is up there with the greats, they're on the trajectory. You know what I mean? Like Poppa Left, your Knicks, 1,100 plus subscribers in his first 4 months. As far as Knicks content creators go, he's on the trajectory to reach, the GOATs, man. Like I'm up there, man. Like, look at the trajectory. Yeah, like my number might be low right now, but I'm getting there. Like, I'm there with the Michael Jordans. I'm there with the Wilt Chamberlains. I'm there with the Shaquille O'Neals. Look at my numbers right now. Can you imagine this channel in 3 to 4 years? Give me the Supermax. You know what I mean? Build around this channel. No disrespect to the guys out there winning championship rings right now. Definitely go check them out right now. For sure. Go check out a Knicks Fan TV. Go check out a Knicks Film School. But I am like premier rookie card. Like, you want to get your hands on a Poppa Left, Ray Allen situation here. Telling you, man, 1,100 subscribers in 4 months. Once you start feeding this monster and it grows legs, and then you see Ian Begley side to side with Poppa Left, oh, man. You never know. It could get scary around here once I start adding pieces. Never know, folks. But thank you guys for checking out the channel. Thank you for checking out the episode for this long. Have a blessed weekend. We'll see you tomorrow on our live stream calling the play-by-play. I'll be there with King Deej. So check us out tomorrow night, Knicks versus Lakers.